The film opens with more than 5,000 humans migrating to a new planet, Homestead 2, on a giant spaceship called Avalon to reboot their failed lives. The planet is 125 light-years away from Earth, so all the humans and the crew members are put into hibernation to preserve their age. Avalon runs itself smoothly for over 30 years, but one day, its trajectory meets an unpredictable meteor shower, which renders some damage to it. The damage prompts one of the hibernation pods to glitch and wake up a mechanic named Jim. The AI welcomes him and sends him to his room, which he can access with his wristband. There, his luggage is delivered to him, so he showers and gets ready for his first class that he had signed up for. He becomes oddly suspicious to see no one in the class except him, so he goes in search of other people. He takes the zero-gravity elevator to access the Grand Concourse of Avalon, where he witnesses AI operating and managing the ship. To see no human other than him, he starts to panic, so the AI directs him to Avalon's captain's headquarters. When he runs there, he finds the chamber doors locked. He takes a peek inside through a small window and discovers that the captain and his crew are still in hibernation. Now clueless, he heads to Avalon's observatory, from where one can view the space for pleasure. There, he speaks to the AI, which lets him know that he's woken up 95 years before everyone else. This revelation leaves Jim flabbergasted and disturbed simultaneously, yet he doesn't lose hope and heads to the communication room to send a message back to Earth. He records himself detailing his problem and sends it to the company sponsoring their voyage. His hope shatters when the AI estimates that his message will take 19 years to get delivered on Earth, and the earliest reply can be expected after 55 years due to the distance between them and Earth, which keeps growing. He accepts his fate and walks around Avalon. In his solitude, he discovers a robot AI named Arthur, who works as a bartender in the ship's restaurant. At first he mistakes him for an actual person, but when he sees that he stands on a stick instead of legs, he becomes disappointed. The scenes cut to the next day, in which Jim wakes up and goes to have breakfast in the ship's cafe. There, he gets disappointed to see the food classifications the company has made, according to which all the fancy food is reserved for gold-class passengers and the usual stuff for normal class members like Jim. After breakfast, Jim gets back to work and tries fixing his pod, but fails to do so. He uses the same tools to break the captain's chamber doors, but they turn out to be indestructible. Now hopeless, he decides to take the elevator and head back to the concourse. As he takes the elevator, a glitch abruptly stops the elevator for a minute and then restarts it. Ignoring the glitches, Jim drinks at the bar and gets positively reinforced by Arthur, after which he starts to live in the moment. He breaks into a golden passenger suite and does all sorts of activities, like swimming and playing video games, to keep himself entertained. However, the looming fear of dying alone on the ship decays his mind gradually and makes him depressed. Scenes fast forward to a year later, in which Jim is seen with a full beard. The new him chooses not to shave and to stay drunk all the time. Presently, Jim puts on a spacesuit and tethers himself to the ship before heading out into space. His visible expressions indicate that nothing excites him anymore. Hence, he returns to the ship and takes off his suit. For a moment, he has suicidal thoughts, which prompt him to head into space without the spacesuit. Lucky for him, he chickens out at the last minute and runs back inside. When he enters the hibernation chamber, he trips over an empty alcohol bottle on the ground and takes a fall. When he gets back up, his eyes set upon the hibernation pod of a blonde woman, whom he instantly gets attracted to. To learn more about her, he views her video profile. He finds out that she's a golden passenger named Aurora, who used to be a famous Nepo journalist on Earth. At first, he only visits her pod and sits by her side, but with time, he starts to crave her company in person. At last, he gets devoured by the selfish impulse to wake Aurora up. To do so, he uses the pod's manuscript and finds a way to turn it off. When he succeeds in that, Aurora wakes up automatically. Unlike Jim, she doesn't have to face the tragedy alone. Jim stays by her side and lies to her about her pod waking her up due to a malfunction. He even takes her to the captain's chamber to prove that they're hopelessly stuck in here for the rest of their lives. Poor Aurora gets a very severe panic attack after hearing this. She runs back to her pod and tries going back to hibernation, but Jim comes after her and finds ways to comfort her so she doesn't suffer like he did. When they meet the next day, Aurora uses her golden passenger privilege to get Jim all the fancy food he desires. While eating together, she keeps exercising her will to fix her pod, indicating that she's new and full of hope, just like Jim in the beginning. When she senses Jim's discouraging agenda, she takes it upon herself to build a new pod, made from scratch. Now on her own, she fails to make the pod and goes through the same emotions as Jim, which makes her hopeless at last. Likewise, she indulges in trivial activities to keep herself distracted. She starts recording a journal, in which she narrates her unfortunate experience on Avalon. Unlike Jim, she keeps herself fit by exercising and swimming. As some time passes, Aurora visits Jim to record his experience on Avalon in her journal. They reconcile after that and head to the hibernation room, where they make each other guess the sleeping people's names and professions to pass the time. As time goes on, the two have fun together and start going on dates. Using Aurora's golden membership, they unlock all the luxurious and multicultural restaurants and eat all sorts of food every day. After a short trip to space, the two seal the deal with a kiss and become lovers. The scenes move forward to Aurora's first birthday on Avalon. Jim wishes her in the observatory when Avalon passes by a rare burning star. Later, he takes her to Arthur's bar to celebrate her birthday and proposes to her afterwards. Unfortunately, he heads to the bathroom for a brief moment, during which Arthur unintentionally reveals to Aurora that she was deliberately woken up by Jim. When Jim returns, Aurora confronts him in fury and breaks up with him. She cuts off all strings attached to him and leads a separate life. Now desperate, Jim fixes a camera and a microphone on a cleaning bot and uses it to spy on Aurora, who is found in a miserable state. Jim plants a tree in the middle of Avalon so Aurora doesn't miss Earth and gets used to Avalon. As more time passes, the glitches become severe. Jim gets locked in an elevator, whereas the vending machines throw food at Aurora instead of handing it to her. These glitches also prompt the Avalon's deck chief, Gus, to wake up. Jim and Aurora finally reunite to fill in Gus on the past years on Avalon. Being the chief, he has access to all the crew chambers, so he accesses the flight crew chamber to detect the glitches. Jim and Aurora also accompany him. In order to detect the problem, Gus needs the ship's manual data to be digitized, so he heads to the concourse to put the data chips in the system. On his way, he nearly dies from a cleaning bot falling over his head, but he prevents the accident. While digitizing data, Aurora and Jim tell Gus about the glitches they've been experiencing since the start. Gus decides to take a look at their pods and study their failure. With time, Aurora starts seeing the signs of declining health in Gus, but doesn't take it seriously. One night, the glitch occurs during her swimming session. The glitch kills gravity for a while, due to which the pool's water floats in the air and traps Aurora inside it. Aurora faints momentarily but wakes up when the gravity gets stabilized. Next, Gus studies the malfunctions and finds out about a power surge on Avalon the day Jim's pod woke him up. That surge failed some systems, due to which the remaining systems became overloaded. Upon further doing a risk analysis, they find out that Avalon is about to go down in flames. Gus faints at a crucial moment, leaving Jim and Aurora to fix things by themselves. First, they get his health checked in an autodoc and find out more than 600 health issues in his body. The next day, Gus calls Aurora and Jim by triggering alarms. When they come to check up on him, he hands them his access card and dies a painful death. With time, the glitches become severe and start to mess with the gravity. Arthur also puts himself in self-destruct mode, but Jim shuts him down. Aurora and Jim team up to check the problem in the engineering room. To access the main plant, they break open the jammed door. Suddenly, Aurora gets sucked inside due to the punctured holes in the chamber that are letting in the space air. These holes were punched in during the meteor shower we saw in the film's beginning. Despite the strong space air pressure, Jim stands in between the doors so they remain open for Aurora to come out. Aurora blocks the hole with her tab, which stops the air from getting inside. This allows Jim to walk at ease and seal the hole using a fire extinguisher. Soon they discover more holes in the walls and realize that the space air has charred their ship's reactor, which is now set on fire. Jim fixes the issue by using a spare part for the reactor computer, but that messes with the vent system and prevents the reactor from cooling down. At this speed, the reactor might burn and destroy Avalon. So Jim takes the risk to open the jammed vent exit from outside Avalon. He puts on his spacesuit and heads out of Avalon to fix the issue. In the meantime, things start to burn near the reactor and create such a strong pressure that random bolts from the reactor start shooting themselves in all directions. One bolt punctures Aurora's forearm, causing her immense pain. The exit door keeps closing due to the pressure in the vents, so he asks Aurora to open the venting door from inside the ship, which is in front of the vent. While the two manually open the vents from the front and exit, a great amount of heat gets ventilated, due to which Jim's tether breaks, and he gets blasted to the abyss. The exit shuts down again, but luckily, the reactor has already cooled off. Aurora sets aside her differences and rescues Jim from space. She puts him in autodoc and fixes him. When he wakes up, Aurora kisses him and takes him back. In the end, they become the new caretakers of Avalon. Jim builds a new pod for Aurora, but she chooses to spend her life with him on Avalon. When Avalon's original crew wakes up after 125 years, they come across the oasis Jim and Aurora have left on the ship, along with a recording explaining their tragedy. Here the film ends.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps.